الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه الغر الميامين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إلا من أكره وقلبه مطمئن بالإيمان. The first of our salawat in honor of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli wa ala Muhammad. The second in honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. The third with your loudest voices in honor of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Respected scholars, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. The discussion concerning the Shia usage of Taqiyya is one of the most controversial discussions in Islamic thought, and a discussion which requires a thorough analysis, for it is a discussion which affects each and every one of our lives. A discussion from which many a lesson may be learnt, and indeed many an example may be derived, and a discussion with a historical basis and a contemporary significance. Many outside the school of Ahlul Bayt have always questioned the usage of Taqiyya by the Shia, and the idea that many have always sought to term Taqiyya as a form of deception or deceit employed by the Shia. If you look at many booklets and indeed many leaflets which have been produced over the years against the school of Ahlul Bayt, you'll always find that there is a focus on the area of Taqiyya amongst other areas. As in, the focus will always be on the fact that you can never trust a Shia when speaking to them, for you do not know when they are employing Taqiyya. Taqiyya is translated in the English language with the term expedient dissimulation. It is the idea that a person is willing to conceal a set of beliefs and values in a moment of grave danger, or indeed a moment of life or death. You find therefore that the discussion concerning Taqiyya has always been a discussion which has brought about a number of differing opinions. Amongst the discussions, for example, you find that when people study Shia literature, you find that when they study Shia literature, they will come across a certain set of narratives. These narratives indicate that Taqiyya is of the utmost importance in the school of Ahlul Bayt. For example, you have the famous narrative which states, Taqiyya is 9/10 of religion. Or you have another narrative which states, Taqiyya is my religion and the religion of my forefathers. Or you have another narration which states, a believer without Taqiyya is like a body without a head. You find all of these traditions from our 5th and our 6th Imams indicate just how important Taqiyya is seen within the school of Ahlul Bayt. Yet those outside the school of Ahlul Bayt, what do they state? Those outside the school of Ahlul Bayt state that Taqiyya is when you lie to someone, but the Shia, when they want to lie to you, they employ Taqiyya. Therefore, when you are in a discussion with someone of the Shia school, you do not know when he is deceitful, when he is deceptive. You don't know if the opinion that he is offering you is his real opinion, or is that an opinion just in that situation. Therefore, you found Taqiyya was not just a historical discussion, but also a contemporary discussion. Why? Because someone asked the question, can we still employ Taqiyya in the 21st century? As in, if taqiyya means the concealment of a set of beliefs or values in a moment of life or death, can I still employ taqiyya today? Is there a situation where as a Shia I should employ taqiyya? Because you find a number of differing opinions on this area. One school came forward and said that today is not the time of taqiyya. Taqiyya, there is no need for it anymore. Today the Shia are in a comfortable position. Today the Shia are in positions where they can express their opinion. There's no need for any concealment whatsoever. Then there's another school which says no, on the contrary, certain Shia in the world cannot come out openly and say they are Shia. Otherwise what will happen is they'll be executed. Therefore there's a major debate as to the contemporary position of taqiyya in the world today. Is it still something employable? As in when our sixth Imam says taqiyya is my religion and the religion of my forefathers, does the Imam mean that we still have to employ taqiyya today? Or was taqiyya only for a certain period of time? Let's discuss this as part of our analysis in this holy month of Ramadan. As you know, in my first 15 nights of lectures in Kenya, I looked at 15 misconceptions on Shia Islam. The remaining 10 will be examined in this series. And this will be the first of them. And I'll examine this in a number of stages. Number one, which famous family member of Pharaoh had to employ taqiyya to save his life? And what happened to his wife when she never employed taqiyya? Number two, which companions preceding the Holy Prophet were known for their usage of taqiyya? Number three, how did the companions employ taqiyya in the life of the Prophet himself? Number four, how did the school of Ahlul Bayt remain alive because of the usage of taqiyya? And how did taqiyya protect and preserve the concept of the Imam of the Shia? And number five, what is the differentiation between taqiyya in safety and reconciliatory taqiyya? Let's examine this and dissect this whole topic in depth. When it comes to examining taqiyya, without a doubt, one has to use the Quran to find the original definition. As in, the derivatives of the word taqiyya are tattaqu and tuqat, which seem to indicate a sort of protection or a sort of concealment. Many scholars believe the first place Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discusses taqiyya in the Quran is in the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Because when we come now to dissect taqiyya, you can't just simply know that taqiyya is the concealment of a set of beliefs and values in the time of life or death. We have to also be able to reference from the Quran where taqiyya is discussed. Many scholars state that the first ever time taqiyya was discussed within the Quran was in the story of Nabi Musa alayhi salam. As we know, Nabi Musa alayhi salam lived in the most difficult of periods. As in, Nabi Musa alayhi salam lived in a period where Pharaoh had been told by the soothsayers that there would be a newborn child and that this newborn child would overtake Pharaoh's kingdom with the preaching of a message which was different to that of Pharaoh. And therefore what you find was that in that time, in the story of Prophet Musa, was a time of great difficulty. As in that time, mothers were fearing for their lives, because Pharaoh had said any newborn male is to be executed. So they'd go around different people's houses. When they'd enter the houses, if they realized the mother is pregnant, they would ensure that there's a midwife who follows this mother during her pregnancy. You find that the stories narrate to us how in 1 year they'd massacre child after child after child. I remember one of Pharaoh's servants came up to him. He said to him, Pharaoh, if we're going to kill all the newborn males, we're not going to have any more servants to serve us. I said, SubhanAllah, look how cold the human can be. We're not going to have any more servants to serve us. So Pharaoh said, very well, why don't you have a year where we kill, and another year where we let them be born? In the year where they let them be born, you found Nabi Harun was born, Prophet Aaron. In the year when it came to the killing, you found that was the year that Nabi Musa was born. But of course, the narratives say to us that Prophet Musa alayhi salam, Allah hid the pregnancy of his mother. The signs of the pregnancy were not showing on his mother. And that's why it's ironic when we discuss our 12th Imam and we say his mother did not have the signs of pregnancy. You find people coming forward and saying, what do you mean his mother didn't have the signs of pregnancy? She must have had. We reply, hold on, in the story of Nabi Musa, Allah prevented the signs of pregnancy from being on the mother. You find that with Nabi Musa, when he was brought up in the court of Pharaoh. Of course, Pharaoh wanted to kill him, but Asiya, Pharaoh had so much love for her that Asiya, when she said, please, he's the apple of my eye, let him remain alive in the house, you found that Pharaoh said, no problem, allow him to remain alive. And you found that Nabi Musa alayhi salam would be reared in the house of Pharaoh. However, even while he was reared in the house of Pharaoh, slowly but surely as he was growing older, there were a number of followers and a contingent who began to know his message. They began to know that he was reared in a house, which was a house of revelation, a house of glory. And indeed, from his followers, you had people from the children of Israel, and you had people from amongst the Egyptians. From amongst the Egyptians, you had people who were so close to Pharaoh, but could not reveal their belief in Musa's Lord. As you imagine, Pharaoh himself is saying, Ana Rabbukumul A'la, I am your Lord, the Most High. There is no way that someone in the court of Pharaoh can turn around and say, I believe in the Lord of Musa. Therefore the question arises, how did someone in the court of Pharaoh manage to live as a follower of Musa without revealing it? They employed what is known as Taqiyya. What they would do is they would conceal their belief, knowing very well that concealment would lead to survival. As in, you find this is in the fitrah of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's in their nature. In the plant kingdom, in the animal kingdom, in the human kingdom, sometimes you can only survive through concealment. As in the plant kingdom, the Venus flytrap only survives how? The Venus flytrap survives only through concealment. When it spots an arachnid or an insect and its hairs know that it's moving, straight away it will catch that insect and will go back into its concealed, innocent look. Likewise, in the world of animals, you may see a lizard that camouflages itself in the green grass so that no one recognizes that it's alive. It recognizes its survival is through concealment, through camouflage. Likewise, those people who were in the court of Pharaoh, they knew very well, if we come out now and we say we believe in the Lord of Musa, we're going to be executed. There's no way we'll survive. So those people in the court of Pharaoh, what would they do? They decided to make an agreement amongst themselves. What was the agreement? The agreement amongst themselves was that they would not reveal that they are followers of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. The Quran praised one of them in particular. You see, Pharaoh had a cousin by the name of Hizqal. His biblical name was Ezekiel. Ezekiel was the cousin of Pharaoh, and he was in the court of Pharaoh. He was married to a lady by the name of Siyana. Hizqal was married to a lady by the name of Siyana. You found that these two, although believers in the message of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, these two, although followers of his message, could not reveal their faith. They would conceal their identity. And imagine how difficult it is to conceal your identity. As in, you just want to come out and say what you believe. You believe in the Lord of Musa. You see this man constantly, every day, Ana Rabbukumul A'la, I am your Lord, the Most High. And you can't even say anything. This Hizqal would conceal his faith. But whenever he knew there was a danger posited to Nabi Musa alayhi salam, he would straight away tell Nabi Musa. And that's why the Quran quite beautifully praises this man's concealment. Sometimes in life, concealment leads to the survival of your ideology. Sometimes there's a place to say you are a follower. In other places, no, conceal. The Quran said what? In Surah 40, verse 28. وَقَالَ رَجُلٌ مُؤْمِنٌ مِّنْ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ يَكْتُمُ إِيمَانَهُ. Notice what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. And said a believer from the family of Fir'aun who was concealing his iman. Yaktumu. Kitman means what? Kitman means when a person conceals something. The Quran said what? قَالَ رَجُلٌ مُؤْمِنٌ مِّنْ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ. Not al of any family. No, Ali Fir'aun. A person from the family of Fir'aun. What was he doing? He was concealing his faith. He would tell Nabi Musa, oh Musa, this is what's being discussed. I can't reveal too much. I'm telling you in my position it's difficult. I've employed Taqiyya so I can conceal my belief in a matter of life or death. Notice how this man managed to conceal his faith, whereas his wife Siyana was not able to. She preferred martyrdom rather than concealing. You see, this is the debate that occurs in Taqiyya. Which is more praiseworthy? Someone who conceals their faith in a matter of life or death, or someone who openly states their faith? Hizqail's wife, Siyana, she saw her husband manage to conceal his faith. She knew that her husband was concealing his faith because it was difficult times. This Siyana used to brush the hair of Pharaoh's daughter. I remember the narrative stating when she would brush the hair of Pharaoh's daughter would talk about her father, how much she loves her father, how much she literally idolizes her father. One day while brushing the hair of Pharaoh's daughter, the brush fell on the ground. When the brush fell on the ground, what did she say? Bismillah. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, what did you just say? She said, Bismillah. She said, which Allah are you referring to? My father? She says, no, Allah who created your father and created all men. She said to her, how dare you speak like that? Do you know what the crime is for saying that my father is not the Lord? She said, I am a believer in the Lord of Musa, the Lord who brought the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of that messenger. That daughter went and told Pharaoh. Pharaoh called Siyana in. Now imagine for Hizqail, Hizqail's been concealing his belief all this time. Whereas Pharaoh recognized this Siyana has just opened her mouth about her belief. Pharaoh brought her. He said to her, do you see that fire in front of you? She said, yes, I do. He said to her, who is your Lord? She said, my Lord is the Lord of Musa and Harun. He said to her, how dare you? Do you not see the fire that awaits you? She replied, I fear a fire which is greater than this fire. I believe in the Lord of Musa and Harun. You know what he did? She had her baby in her hand, the child, her child and Hizqail's child. He said to her, I'll burn you alive with your child. As soon as she now heard that she was about to be burnt alive with her child, one of the narratives states that suddenly she had a state of fear in her. The narrative states at that moment, Allah inspired the child to speak to the mother. Someone says, what do you mean Allah inspired the child to speak to a mother? I'm sure you've heard about another prophet who spoke from a cradle. You found the child was inspired to speak to the mother and said, oh my mother, do not worry, Allah will look after us for believing in Him at this moment. You found, what did Pharaoh do? He burnt this mother and her child alive. Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam states on the night of Mi'raj, when I was between Masjid al-Haram and Masjid al-Aqsa, I went past an area of the most beautiful fragrance. I turned around to Jibreel, I said to him, oh Jibreel, what is that area I went past which had the most beautiful fragrance? He said to me, oh Prophet of Allah, that area is the area which honors Siyana, the wife of Hizqail. That Allah created an area in honor of her because she died as a martyr in the face of Pharaoh and his government. You found Siyana died as a martyr. She wouldn't conceal, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said there was an option. If you're under a tyrannical government and your life is at stake, you can either do what Siyana did, and that is admit what you believe in, or you can conceal your belief in what is known as Taqiyya, as in normally to lie about your faith is not allowed. But this is only in a grave danger, because knowing that coming out with your belief will result in life or death. Because the psychology of a person in taqiyya, what is it? If I conceal my belief and it could preserve the future of this religion as well, then why not conceal my belief to ensure the religion moves forward as well? And that's why even after Prophet Musa's story, after Hizqal, after the Quran had praised Hizqal, you find in the story of Ashab al-Kahf, the companions of the cave. The companions of the cave knew that they were living in a time of a king who was a tyrannical king, a king who, like Pharaoh, believed in himself as being a partner of God. These companions of the cave were not more than 7 or 8 youth, but they recognized if they come out publicly and they stated what they believed in, they'd be killed. So they decided to perform taqiyya. They decided to conceal their belief in a time of life or death until there would be a time when the king caught them. When the king caught them, he said to them, listen, you 7, 8, you, I hear, believe in a Lord other than me. They said, yes, it's true. He said, why? They said, we recognize that only one Lord is the necessary existent, who brought all of us into creation. If there was more than one Lord, there would be corruption. We wouldn't know which Lord made the decision. We wouldn't know if all the Lords agreed with that decision. We believe in one God. He said to them, very well, I give you a night or two. Either you go back on your decision or you leave. Those Ashab al-Kahf, what were they doing? Ashab al-Kahf were in taqiyya for most of their life. They had concealed their belief because they knew, had the people found out about what their belief is, the people would have ended up killing them. Therefore, what do you find? You find that preceding Rasulullah, we have clear instances within the Quran where Allah praises the mu'min of Al-Fir'aun, the believer from the people of Pharaoh. Allah praises him for his taqiyya. And that's why taqiyya, when Imam al-Sadiq says taqiyya is my religion and the religion of my forefathers, what's Imam al-Sadiq trying to say? He's trying to say that not just Rasulullah, even preceding Rasulullah, part of the innate instinct of the human being is that concealment leads to survival. Many human beings preceding Rasulullah recognized that sometimes when you conceal what you believe in, that will lead to your survival. And that's why it was no different in the time of the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet himself, when he first announced the message in Mecca, he, in the first 3 years of his Risala, he told many of his companions, he made it clear to them. He made it clear to many of his companions that conceal your belief, don't tell anyone. As in, I think every companion, barring Abu Dharr al-Ghafari, was concealing their belief and not telling the whole world about their belief. Every companion in the first 3 years could not come out openly and say, I believe in Muhammad Rasulullah. Otherwise, the message would have been destroyed. You found in the first 3 years of the religion of Islam, taqiyya was employed as a mechanism to protect not only the religion, but to protect the early Muslims. Yet you found that it looked after the lives of some of the most important Muslims in early Islamic history. And that's why one particular companion of Rasulullah, his taqiyya led to his survival after intense torture. You see, the verse I quoted at the beginning of this lecture relates to Ammar ibn Yasir's struggle in the early days in Mecca. Because we know when the Prophet came with the message of the religion of Islam in Mecca, those early days were the most difficult days any Muslim had ever seen. In those early days, you found the Prophet telling Ja'far ibn Abu Talib, Ja'far, go towards the land of Abyssinia. Go and take the companions. When Ja'far replied, why? He said, over here in Mecca we are being tortured. We are being executed. We are being harassed. Ja'far ibn Abu Talib went with a group of companions to go and live in Africa. The Holy Prophet would see Bilal al-Habashi tortured every morning and every night in the heat of Arabia and the deserts, with a rock being placed on top of his body. And Bilal would only say, Ahad, Ahad, Ahad. There's only one God. There's only one God. There's only one God. The Prophet himself, while in Mecca, would go down in sujood, and they'd bring the feces of an animal and throw it on the Prophet's head while he's in his prostration. where the Quran says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يَنْهَى عَبْدًا إِذَا صَلَّى. Have you seen the one who prevents and attacks our servant when he's in his prayer? Where Fatima al-Zahra would come and wipe the feces from the face of Rasulullah. Where she would come and look after her father in those early days in Mecca. Do you know how many Muslims went through torture in those early days in Mecca? You found, for example, Abu Talib. You found, for example, many others. Therefore, what happened when any Arab head of tribe found out that one member of his tribe had become a Muslim? What would they do to them? They'd capture that member of the tribe and they take him to be tortured. Amongst the people who caught a member of their tribe was who? Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl found out Yasir and Sumayya and Ammar, their son, he found out that they had all become Muslims. When he found out that they all become Muslims, what did he do? He ordered that all of them were to be caught and to be tortured. Now this is a vital verse about Taqiyya. Yasir was caught, Sumayya, his wife, was caught, and Ammar, their son, was caught. Yasir, when he was caught, constantly Abu Jahl would say to him, who is your Lord? He would reply by saying, my Lord is the one Lord who questions all of us on the day of judgment, who does not differentiate between the rich and the poor, between the black and the white. All of us are equal before him. A Lord who cannot be defined in the shape of an idol, like the idols who the Quraysh worship. That Yasir, he had the audacity to say, I don't care. I'm a Muslim and I'm proud that I'm a Muslim. I'm not going to hide anything in front of Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl can torture me as much as he wants. Abu Jahl would whip him and whip him and whip him, and with sticks they'd beat him. Yet Yasir would continue to profess his faith, and you found that they came and put a spear straight through his stomach. Sumayya, the wife of Yasir, a lady, you would think maybe under pressure, under coercion, you would think maybe Sumayya would turn around and say, this is too difficult, I'm not able to look after myself. No, Sumayya, the wife of Yasir, would come out clearly. And when she would come out, she would say very clearly. What would she say? She'd come forward and she'd say that I believe in the Lord of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I believe in the Lord of the Prophet. I believe in the prophets who came before Muhammad. And I believe in equality in this nation. They harassed her so badly that they got the two different parts of her body, her hands and her feet, and they made a horse run away with his feet tied to her hands. Her whole body was ripped into pieces. Ammar ibn Yasir, their son, witnessed his mother and father being tortured. While Ammar witnessed them being tortured, Abu Jahl would come up to him and whip him and say to him, what do you believe? And he'd say, I believe in the Lord of Muhammad. What do you believe? I believe in the Lord of Muhammad. What do you believe? He said, I do not believe in no one but the Lord of Abu Jahl. Abu Jahl at this moment, what did he say? Abu Jahl at this moment went back and said, what do you believe? He said, I do not believe in the Lord, nor do I believe in the Prophet. He said, very well, that is what I like to hear. Now get up and leave. Ammar ibn Yasir, as soon as he did this, the first place he went was to the house of the Holy Prophet. When he went to the house of the Holy Prophet, he came to him and he said to him, Ya Rasulullah, I said something, but my heart believes in something different. Rasulullah looked at him and he said to him, what is it? He said to him, O Prophet of God, I did something, but my heart believes in something different. I said that I do not believe in Allah, whereas my heart believes in Allah. And I said that I do not follow your prophethood, but my heart honors your prophethood. As soon as he said this, the Quran came down with the verse, Surah 16, verse 106. من كفر بالله من بعد إيمانه إلا من أكره وقلبه مطمئن بالإيمان. There are those who disbelieve in Allah after they believed in Him, except those who are compelled while their heart still believes in Allah. This verse was a verse of Taqiyya in honor of Ammar ibn Yasir, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was showing I know what's in the heart of Ammar. I know Ammar believes in me, but I know because of the intense persecution and the intense torture that Ammar has gone through, I know very well that Ammar, what he said is different from what's in his heart. You see, a hypocrite is different from someone in Taqiyya. A hypocrite does not believe in Allah in his heart, but outwardly says, I believe in Allah. A person in Taqiyya outwardly says, I don't believe, but in his heart is the biggest believer of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when someone comes to attack you about Taqiyya, and they say to you, how dare you perform this act of Taqiyya, this is not part of Islam. Say in Surah 16 verse 106, didn't Allah praise Ammar bin Yasir for performing Taqiyya? Didn't Allah say, إِلَّا مَنْ أُكْرِهَا وَقَلْبُهُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ? He was compelled while his heart was full of Iman, was full of certainty. In other words, the first proof of Taqiyya was the family of Fir'aun. The second proof was Ammar bin Yasir. The third proof was with the usage of the word Taqiyya and its derivatives. What do we mean? You see, the first two proofs are from incidents of people who concealed their beliefs in a time of life or death, isn't it? The third proof is in Surah 3 verse 28. Surah 3 verse 28 is unanimous amongst the scholars of the Shia and of Ahlul Sunnah as being the verse where the derivatives of the word Taqiyya are clearly employed. What does the verse say? لا يتخذ المؤمنون الكافرين أولياء من دون المؤمنين ومن يفعل ذلك فليس من الله في شيء إلا أن تتقوا منهم تقات. I'm sure you all heard the derivatives of the word Taqiyya. لا يتخذ المؤمنون الكافرين أولياء من دون المؤمنين ومن يفعل ذلك فليس من الله في شيء إلا أن تتقوا منهم تقات. تتقوا and تقات. When was this verse revealed? لا يتخذ المؤمنون الكافرون أولياء من دون المؤمنين. When was it revealed? The Quran said, do not let the believers take the disbelievers as guardians ahead of the believers. This verse is clear, as in when there is a disbeliever, I as a believer do not take him as a guardian ahead of my fellow believer brother. Yes, I have social interaction with a disbeliever, that there's no doubt. And I maintain my ethics with a disbeliever, that's no doubt. But as for taking him as a guardian ahead of a fellow believer, no, that's not something that I do. The Quran said, لا يتخذ المؤمنون الكافرين أولياء من دون المؤمنين ومن يفعل ذلك فليس من الله في شيء. And whoever decides to take a disbeliever ahead of a believer as a guardian, Allah wants nothing to do with that person. إلا, except, أن تتقوا منهم تقات. Except if you are in an act of dissimulation in front of them. Except if you are performing expedient dissimulation. إِلَّا أَن تَتَّقُوا مِنْهُمْ تُقَاتٍ. There are two derivatives of taqiyya here. تَتَّقُوا and tuqat. What is the verse saying? O you believers, do not take the disbelievers as guardians ahead of the believers. Whoever of you does that, Allah will not be his guardian, except if you are in a state of taqiyya. Meaning what? If I'm in a country where I have to take the disbeliever as a guardian ahead of the believer, because like Ammar bin Yasir, I'm in a state of extreme difficulty, I'm in a state of life or death danger, Allah says only in that moment you can take taqiyya, where you can conceal your belief and take the disbeliever as a guardian. Musaylama al-Kadhab, many of the scholars are of the opinion this verse refers to Musaylama. Musaylama al-Kadhab used to say, I'm a prophet and Muhammad's a prophet. You say to him, what do you mean? He said, well, I'm a prophet of one part of the world and Muhammad's a prophet for another part of the world. This Musaylama went around to Muslims, he'd come with a sword. He went around to one Muslim, he said to him, do you believe in me as a prophet? That Muslim saw the sword, he said, yes, yes, of course I do. He said to him, do you believe in Muhammad as a prophet? He said, yes, I do. So he said to him, okay, very well, you can go. He came to another Muslim. Do you believe in me and Muhammad as a prophet? He said to him, yes, I do. He said to him, do you believe in me as a prophet? He said, sorry, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. He said, do you believe in me as a prophet? He said, sorry, I can't hear you. So what do you mean you can't hear me? You heard my first question. He executed the man. The people came towards the prophet. They said to him, one of them concealed his belief, while the other one was open in his belief. He wasn't willing to say Musaylam as a prophet. Ya Rasulallah, what is the situation for both? He said, both of them will be rewarded with heaven. The one who performed taqiyya and the one who was open with his belief. You see, the first one, he said, I believe Musaylam as a prophet, because he saw a sword next to him. He knew the Quran had set a precedent that you can conceal your belief in a matter of life or death. The second one did not dare utter. His heart did not let him say anyone's a prophet except the Prophet Muhammad. That person died as a shaheed. They came to Rasulullah, they said, Ya Rasulullah, who gets a higher place in heaven? The one who concealed or the one who was open? Rasulullah said, both of them get their place in heaven. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with him is the reckoning. But both of them get their place in heaven. That's why you find even our brothers in Ahlul Sunnah, if they come to you and they say, come on, what is this? You lie at a time when you profess, or you go against something at a time and you don't profess? We reply, our brothers in Ahlul Sunnah have a concept in their jurisprudence called al-iftarar. Iftarar means compulsion, isn't it? Or at a time of extreme difficulty. At a time of difficulty, our brothers in Ahlul Sunnah agree that certain laws of Islam change at a time of life or death. Don't you agree? Am I allowed to eat pork normally in Islam? No. But if now I'm about to die and there's no other food for me, can I eat pork? Yes. Am I allowed to drink alcohol in Islam? No. But if it's a life of intense difficulty, moment of intense difficulty, can I drink alcohol in a moment where there is absolutely no other drink whatsoever? Yes, I can. Our brothers in Ahlul Sunnah say that the laws when it comes to life and death change, because life overtakes everything. You therefore find if you are allowed that, then why on the issue of taqiyya is there an issue? On the issue of taqiyya, it's life or death, isn't it? You're concealing a belief, yet you know very well what's in your heart. Therefore you found the very origin of Islam was what? The very origin of the religion of Islam was that the sanctity of the religion was preserved by personalities who concealed their faith. But they knew that the concealing of their faith wasn't a matter of life or death. And that's why you found, were it not for this taqiyya, I tell you this religion would not have been preserved. When Imam al-Sadiq says, a believer without taqiyya is like a body without a head. What does Imam al-Sadiq mean by this? Imam al-Sadiq means that a believer who does not recognize the importance of taqiyya is like a body that does not recognize the importance of the head. The head, what is it for the body? The head gives direction to the body. The head gives guidance to the body. Likewise, taqiyya gives guidance to iman. Taqiyya protects a religion in its most difficult times. Do you know this religion, were it not for taqiyya, the concept of the 12th Imam of Al Muhammad would not have been preserved. It was taqiyya that preserved this. My supervisor and my masters, may Allah lengthen his life, Dr. Jasim Hussain, has written the book, The Occultation of the 12th Imam. In this book, he has a major analysis of the underground movement, which was a taqiyya underground movement, which looked after the concept of the Mahdi in Shi'ism. From the time of Imam al-Sadiq until Imam al-Askari, there is within our traditions an underground secret movement called At-Tanzim al-Sirri, the secret organization. It's also given another title, Al-Wikala, the deputyship. What would happen would be, from the time of Imam al-Sadiq until the time of Imam al-Askari, there was a recognition that the Shia would be under intense persecution. So the Shia could not come out openly with their beliefs, because as soon as a person recognizes what? That this person is a Shia, as soon as there's this recognition, what do you find? You would find that many Shia would be tortured. Therefore, what would Imam al-Kadhim, for example, do? Our 7th Imam, you know, he would be placed in prison. Our 7th Imam clearly noticed This religion will only survive if a few people perform taqiyya. But through their taqiyya, through their concealment, tashayyu' would spread. There were personalities in the time of Imam al-Kadhim who used to teach the Shia law, ethics, spirituality, theology, while they would sell butter in the markets of Baghdad. If you walked in the markets of Baghdad, you'd see a man selling butter. The man, you'd come, you'd buy your butter off him, you'd walk away. A Shia would come, Salamu alaikum. Can you explain to me Imam al-Sadiq's laws on tahara? He'll be like, yes, Imam al-Sadiq says in relation to tahara, that if it comes towards, for example, al-Tahurain, there is the tahara of water and the tahara of the earth. If an Abbasid soldier walks past, how much butter would you like, inshaAllah? You'd say, okay, I'll have half a kilogram of butter. So, okay, no problem. When the Abbasid soldier walks past, so we continue on the lesson on tahara. So if the earth is a form of tahara, that's normally when there is no water present. Do you know how many Shia had to live like this so that me and you can celebrate the month of Ramadan today? You think it's easy for a human being to live their lives concealing their belief so that they preserve the religion of Islam? Do you know that secret underground organization preserved the teachings because it was a matter of life or death? That if they found out you're a Shia, they destroy you? That's why, how many of you have heard the story of Ali bin Yaqtin? Ali bin Yaqtin, when he writes to Imam Musa ibn Ja'far and he says to him, how do I perform my wudu as a Shia? And Imam Musa ibn Ja'far writes back to him by saying that you wash your face, you wash your hands, you wipe your head, and you wash your feet. Ali bin Yaqtin is reading this, he's thinking, wash your feet? I'm sure we have to wipe our feet. Harun al-Rashid at the same time, what was he being told? Harun al-Rashid at the same time was being told very clearly, Ali bin Yaqtin, we think he's become one of the Shia. Harun al-Rashid said, no way, Ali bin Yaqtin would never become a Shia. Ali bin Yaqtin is loyal to me. At this moment, the narration states that they said to him, no, we know he's become Shia. He said, very well, tomorrow we'll go and look at his wudu. If he washes his feet, then he's one of us. Whereas if he wipes his feet, then he's one of the followers of Musa ibn Ja'far. Ali bin Yaqtin is in a difficult situation. What do? I want to do my wudu. I've written to Imam Musa ibn Ja'far. Imam Musa ibn Ja'far said to me, wash your feet. How can I go against the command of my Imam when my Imam has more foresight than I do? Harun al-Rashid's come with his guards. They're looking through the window. They're looking at his wudu. If his wudu involves wiping, they capture him and finish him. If his wudu involves washing, then they're confident he's still one of them. When he came down towards the feet, he's thinking, I'm sure we have to wipe. But Musa ibn Ja'far said, we have to wash. So let me wash. As soon as they saw the washing, Harun al-Rashid said, what did I tell you? He's still one of us. If he wiped, then he would have been with Musa ibn Ja'far. A few days later, a letter came in the post. Assalamu alaikum, O Ali bin Yaqtin. Now we tell you to go back to wiping the feet again. For that was only done in a period where we knew that your life was in danger. In other words, even in the issue of wudu, you had to think twice about how you perform your wudu. In the time of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far, anyone who was known to be a Shia would be killed. And that's why arguably the greatest exponent of Taqiyya was the famous Bahlul, wasn't he? As in, was there anyone like Bahlul who was in Taqiyya? Bahlul was related to Harun al-Rashid. Bahlul was one of the students of Imam al-Sadiq, students of Imam al-Kadhim, companion of Imam al-Rada, a scholar of scholars. But when he went to visit Imam Musa al-Kadhim, him and two other Shia, they came to visit Imam Musa al-Kadhim. They came towards the prison. Imam Musa al-Kadhim was in prison. When they came towards the prison, they asked Imam al-Kadhim, oh Imam, you are in prison. How should our Shia behave? Imam said, Jim. They said what? He said, Jim. Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, Jim. The letter Jim. One of them thought Jim means Jabal. So he as a Shia went to live in the mountains. Another thought, Jim means leave the country, Jala' an al-watan, so he left the country. Bahlul knew that Jim meant junoon, act majnoon, act insane, but through your insanity preserve the school of Al-Muhammad. Through your insanity preserve the message of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. If you come out openly and say you're a Shia, you'll be killed. And Bahlul, you're too great an asset for you to be killed. We need you to protect the school. Therefore, what you find, Bahlul, through his insanity, he would spread the message. He'd deliver a nice point, and then he'd walk away. That person who says, Bahlul came to my hotel, we were sitting in the hotel. Bahlul went to sleep that night. It was in Basra in the south of Iraq. The next morning, Bahlul came to me. He said to me, excuse me, hotel manager, you have to fix your walls. I said to him, why? He said, because your walls are moving, I'm getting worried when I'm asleep. That these walls are slowly crumbling. So can you fix them? I said, Bahlul, I thought you're a man of God. I said to him, what do you mean? He said, don't you know that the walls are all in tasbih? So that crumbling noise is them in tasbih. They're doing subhanallah, you should calm down. Bahlul looked at him and said, the problem with someone who does tasbih is normally afterwards they go into sujood. I'm worried these walls may decide to go in sujood on top of me. True. As in when you look at those walls, if those walls decide to go into sujood, then I'm going to end up dying. That same Bahlul on another occasion, when Harun Rashid would make fun of Bahlul. Bahlul one day hears what? He hears Harun al-Rashid has decided to burn all the churches in Baghdad. Bahlul upon hearing this said, oh Harun al-Rashid, the churches belong to the Christians and the Christians are people of God. Oh Harun al-Rashid, don't burn the churches. Harun al-Rashid looked at him and said, you are a fool, you're insane. What do you have to teach someone like me? Stay away from me, stay away. Bahlul said, very well, I'll stay away. Harun al-Rashid after a while said to Bahlul, Bahlul, come here. He said, what is it? He said, lead salah for us. Bahlul said, I lead salah? He said, yes, you lead salah. You with the broomstick. You know, he used to run around with that broomstick. You lead salah. He said, okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahu Akbar. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Muslimin. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Harun al-Rashid said, hold on a minute. Bahlul, what are you doing? Don't you know how to read Surah Al-Fatiha properly? He said to him, what do you mean? He said, what do you mean, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Muslimin? It should be Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Master of all the worlds. Bahlul said, the way you treat the Christians, we should say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Muslimin. The Quran says Master of the universe means we should treat everyone equal in this world. In other words, Bahlul, Ali bin Yaqteen were all a part of an underground Taqiyya movement. An underground Taqiyya movement which sought to conceal the message of Al-Muhammad. Imam al-Rada had his underground movement. Imam al-Jawad with people like Ali bin Mahziyar. Imam al-Hadi and Imam al-Askari with the No-Bakhti family. All of them underground Shia Taqiyya movements which protected the message of the 12th Imam. As in, you think that message of the 12th Imam would have reached us today were it not for those Shia who were undergoing Taqiyya, the concealment to protect the message of the 12th Imam? Therefore you found Taqiyya in its origin was part of the preservation of the Shia. Someone asks an important question. That's what are the different types of Taqiyya that exist today? You find that Taqiyya which exists today can come in different types. The first is Taqiyya for safety, concealment of life or death in a time of wanting safety. If for example now I'm on a ziyarah to Iraq, I'm going to Samarra, or I'm going to Najaf, I'm going to Karbala, I'm going to Sham next to Sayyidah Zainab, and I get stopped on the way and we're told to get off the bus, the whole group, and someone comes to me with a knife. Can I perform Taqiyya at that moment? Yes, I can. If they say to me, do you believe in the message of Allah and His Prophet? Yes, I do. And do you believe in the 12 Imams after that? I can turn around and say, no, I don't believe in the 12 Imams after that. But my heart, like Ammar bin Yasir, firmly believes in the 12 Imams. That Taqiyya, in a moment of life or death, that's the first type of Taqiyya. Then say the Sistani, may Allah lengthen his life, refers to a second type of Taqiyya, reconciliatory Taqiyya. What is this? Reconciliatory Taqiyya means when I conceal my beliefs, not so that I lie about my beliefs, but so that I show tolerance to people who have made different beliefs to me. What do I mean? I mean, for example, sometimes you find our brothers from Ahlul Sunnah saying, you, the Shia, tell me your real beliefs. What's your real beliefs? Why don't you say your real beliefs in front of us? What are you doing? Taqiyya? You're lying? No, we're performing reconciliatory taqiyya, which means what? I could say my real beliefs, and I could come out openly with my real beliefs, but I appreciate there are certain figures that you have respect for who I may differ over. When I conceal all my opinions about those figures, it's not because I'm scared, it's because I'm trying to enter dialogue with you as another Muslim. I could come out openly on the minbar with all my opinions about figures in Islamic history, and I can be blunt about it. But reconciliatory taqiyya dictates that I conceal some of my beliefs so that I slowly enter a dialogue with another Muslim so that I do not offend that Muslim. What do I mean? I mean, when we come to talk about other Muslims and their beliefs, our role shouldn't be to attack their beliefs. Our role should be that we discuss their beliefs openly. We entertain dialogue about their beliefs. Someone says, okay, but why don't you say all your opinions on the minbar? No, not everybody has read everything we've read. Not every book you've read, they've read. Not every lecture you've listened to, they've listened to. There are some things you don't come out with openly because the other school will see it as a shock at the beginning. I don't mind. Yes, my conclusions at the end, I may differ with you. Yes. But not everything comes out, because reconciliatory taqiyya is the idea that we foster brotherhood between Muslims, not disunity. We agree to disagree, but we do it in a manner of tolerance and respect. Someone recently came and they said, this isn't the time for taqiyya. We have Shia in Iraq, Shia in Pakistan, Shia in Bahrain, Shia in Lebanon. We should be open with our beliefs. You reply back to the brother by saying, hold on, brother. I appreciate, but what do you mean open? Open as in I begin to slander and I begin to act rudely to other Muslims? No. There is still an ethical concept in this religion which the Quran dictates, that invite towards the way of your Lord with wisdom and with a good word. And what? And talk to them in that which is better. Just because you have power doesn't mean you use it. The most powerful in history aren't those with power, are those who held back their power when they could have used their power. That's the most powerful. Today when someone says on the minbar, there should be no more taqiyya, we should come out openly, we say that look how many deaths have been caused when you don't observe the methods of dialogue properly on the minbar. Someone says, but those deaths would have happened anyway. Okay, if those deaths would have happened anyway, then don't you lend a hand to those deaths as well. You should be someone who observes tolerance on the minbar. Yes, tolerance does not mean compromise. Tolerance means I recognize there are people of differing opinions, but I discuss their opinions with respect. Therefore, the first type of taqiyya, safety. The second type of taqiyya, reconciliatory. The third type of taqiyya is the one which is discouraged. Which one? The one where Islam is in the face of danger and you remain silent. Because there are certain people who say, does taqiyya mean that when Islam's in danger, I remain silent and I don't talk? No. When Islam is in danger, then there is no space anymore for taqiyya. When Islam is in danger and the world is being corrupted as to its teachings, that's when a person has to come out with their beliefs so that people understand the true teachings of the religion of Islam. And that's why you find that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam could have easily sat back on the 10th of Muharram. He could have easily said that I prefer to conceal my beliefs against Yazid. I don't need to come out open with my beliefs against Yazid. No, on the contrary. Imam said in that case there's no taqiyya. No. With a case with a tyrant like him, a man like me does not pledge allegiance to a man like him. Never will I put myself in a state where I am humiliated by a man like him. Unless I come out openly and I talk about him, this religion will die, isn't it? Karbala, what did it highlight? It highlighted Taqiyya has a time and place. But when Islam is about to be destroyed and injustice is prevalent, a person cannot remain silent. When a person sees dhulm on this earth, they must speak. Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, what did he show us on the 10th of Muharram? He showed us I could easily conceal my belief. I could stay at home in Medina, and heaven awaits me as I'm one of the masters of the youth of paradise. But no, I recognize that I have to lose my life in order that this religion remains alive. And that's why the poet describes it beautifully when he says, he attributes this to Imam al-Hussein, even though it's the words of the poet. He says, if the religion of Muhammad will not survive except for my death, then oh swords, come and take me. Abu Abdullah highlighted for us that Taqiyya has a time, but when the religion is about to be destroyed, then every member of the religion cannot conceal. Rather, the members of the religion have to speak out against any injustice that occurs. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise us with Muhammad and Al Muhammad, to allow us to be amongst the companions of Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, raise us with the Imam of our time. Inshallah, we'll continue with the next 9 nights. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Surah Al-Fatiha, but before the loudest of your salawat.